We are recording, and those of you who've signed up and have logged in to watch this, we welcome you. Want you to get a cup of coffee, get your lunch, do whatever you need um, to get settled, and we'll get started here in a minute. Today, we're going to talk about strategic note investing, and this is going to be a way to demystify something that is a great way to build wealth. It's a great way to put idle cash or dry cash, as our guest will refer to work for you. First, we've got a little disclaimer: lawyers always have to have their say. So I'm going to go through that. Basically, we're custodians and administrators. We don't provide any advice and endorsements. We can't recommend or promote anything or tell you to invest in anything. So we're neutral third parties. So we're not advisors, CPAs, realtors, attorneys, and we didn't stay in those hotels where you could claim you were. So we always urge everyone who gets involved with alternative asset investing and with self-directed investing with IRAs and 401ks to consult your tax prep specialist, your CPA, your lawyer if you have to before you get started. So I'm going to try to unshare my screen here, and I'm going to introduce our guest. We are really lucky to have Eddie Speed with us here today. This is a treat because if you haven't heard of Eddie Speed and the Note School and you haven't seen him do his thing, you're really missing out on something. So we're very lucky to get some of his time today. He and his school are institutions in the note investing field. You'll definitely want to stop and see what he's doing and take a look at the courses he provides and the great teaching and mentoring that he does. He's got 4 decades of experience and he's done more than 50,000 notes. So I think the rule is if you do something 10,000 times or 10,000 hours, I forget what it is, then you are an expert. So we've got somebody who's an expert 5 times over. He's also the owner and founder of Colonial Funding Group. He's a pioneer. He pioneered the practice of seller finance notes, and he's the author of multiple books on real estate investing and financing. So welcome, Eddie. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Please put up your slides and show us your stuff.
Do it. I will do it. Thank you, and I appreciate the kind introduction. I have had a great experience with you guys for many, many years in the past, and so I'm honored to get to speak to your audience. So today we're going to talk about something that is really kind of real estate related, but it's a different seat to sit in. It's not owning the property, it's owning a first mortgage on the property. You're the bank, you're not the landlord. And you're saying, well, okay, why do I want to do that, Eddie? And the answer is because it's going to produce way more cash flow with way less headaches. And it's going to show you how you can change some things in your life quicker than you might have otherwise. So, a little bit about me. Yes, I started in 1980, so I have 40 plus years experience in the business. And about 25 years ago, I built a school. I am in the note buying business. We have probably about $20 million in notes in due diligence under contract right now that we're working to buy. So I am not just teaching a business that we don't do or we did it years ago and don't do it anymore. No, we're deeply involved in the business. And so I teach people what we've lived and done for the past 45 years. Something that people frequently ask me is can you make me understand this? Can you make it simple? And the answer is I've spent the past 25 years breaking a process down, a blueprint of how to do this so that it is a simple process to learn. I place a high emphasis on the fact that I don't want you just to believe that I can do it, but I want you to believe that you can do it. And so that's a very important thing to me. Yes, I've done a lot of business. We do a lot of business in the note space. And so we've done a lot of transactions, and sometimes some gray hair matters, right? Particularly when you're in a market that is producing some challenging. And so I'm going to talk about industry challenges, and I'm going to talk about why it matters and how it works. We are very self-directed, retirement account centric. We teach a lot of techniques that are going to relate to all your self-directed retirement accounts. How do you go find an account you can get that $10,000 deployed in? How do you go find a way that you can get your dry cash funded safely with an investment that's going to pay you back plus interest, right? And it's not going to have to go cause you to work on every Saturday, right? So, how do you do this in a way to make it work? How do you make it practical? Well, there's nothing like market timing. In 45 years in this business, I've seen a lot of things. The timing for the perfect storm has produced for note investing is incredible. Apartment syndications are not as safe as they were, right? They had a big run up for a long time and things were really good. Now all of a sudden that's not such. Now to do the next deal, it takes a lot more due diligence, it takes a lot more study. The market's not as kind to the operators. How about rent houses? Well, in rent houses, and most people, if you just paid cash for a rent house in 2018, you'd make about 8% on your money per year. So if you invested 200,000 cash in a rent house, your net income was about $16,000. Take identically that same house today in the same market, in the same neighborhood, and the same things that you were doing, and that rent house today is making about 4%. So rent houses went from making 8% return to an investor to 4% return to an investor. Well, that's crazy. Wait a minute, Eddie. You're telling me to go buy a rent house and make 4%, and if I borrowed money at the bank, the same bank on the same rent house is now charging me 7.5% interest. Wow. Who's making more money on a rent house today? So market timing has a lot to do with things. And so this is a very good time for us, and we're busy, but we're busy doing something that we love to do, and we're bringing people into the business we feel like in a really good time. So if you've shown up today with some interest in this, you have picked a really good time to do it. So what do people like about notes? This is what people ask me all the time. Why would I do notes? Why would I want to earn a first mortgage on somebody's house versus just own the house and rent it and do all that? And the answer is I have a lender's risk with a much higher return than a landlord makes. Wow, that's a mouthful. I have a lender's risk, meaning I have way less risk than the owner, but yet I get paid better than the owner. So that's why people like it. Let's talk about some details of that. Let's just do a simple comparison. Let's take a rent house, and well, it's stressful. Like tenants and toilets or whatever you want to call it, it is a thing. And if you love your rentals and you go tell all your friends and family, I cannot wait for a tenant to call me with the next problem, I'm going to say Godspeed to you. I'm glad for you. I'm happy. I'm happy you love it. But I have dealt with a lot of landlords, an excessive amount of landlords, and they tell me stress is a big thing. So it's stressful to have a rental. Right now, a lot of people's cash flow has been heavily, heavily cut. And the answer to this, why that is true, is pretty simple. Expenses on rent houses went up way more than the rents. So the rents went up during the virus, but expenses went up 2.5 times higher than the rents went up. So inflation drank your milkshake, kind of, sort of, right? And then the last thing is there's a cushion with notes, and there's not much cushion with rentals. You don't get enough security deposit that if something goes wrong with that deal, it's going to solve the problem, right? And go ask every landlord in the business, and anybody that's ever owned them for very long or owned very many will tell you about all the horror stories of things. There is not a cushion with rentals. It usually involves you're having to write a check and solve a problem when something goes wrong. So why do people like first mortgages? Well, first and foremost, let's start out with the most important thing. your time, can you scale it, less stress? How many of you want more stress in your life? How many of you are looking for more tasks in your life? So that's why people like first mortgages. Secondly, we are in a market situation where, typically speaking today, compared to rentals, that you are easily looking at 2.5 to 3 times the income minimum per month, net income minimum. Way more cash flow, way better. We'll have some math, we'll show that. And a better cushion factor. You see, when I buy a first mortgage, if I paid $200,000 for a first mortgage, the property that I'm buying is worth more than $200,000. There's a cushion factor if something went wrong, right? I don't want anything to go wrong. We're buying what we think are low risk notes. The likelihood of having a problem is way less than having a tenant. We think probably 10 times less than dealing with a problem with a tenant over the next 5 years. But the reality is, um, you know, there needs to be a cushion if something doesn't go right. We're going to talk about that. So let's talk about the scale advantage. I believe that you can have 55 rentals or 1,000 notes for the same level of work. Like, like I got so much time to devote to this. What is it I can oversee? 55 rentals or 1,000 notes? And I've repeated that back to people that have had long decades of experience in rentals and now have notes. And I see them every time kind of essentially nodding their head like a puppy dog in the window. Yes, you're right, Eddie. That's the truth. So I think that's a big thing. Let's just talk about if you're sitting on some dry cash. You're sitting on some money. I just threw a number out there. I'm not saying everybody has 250,000. I'm not saying everybody has 10,000. I'm not saying everybody has 1 million. But I'm saying this is an example of what would you put your next money in. And if you're sitting on some money, what would you do with it? Well, let's just do the comparison. Let's go buy a rent house. Nationwide, by the way, the average rent nationwide is $825. That's the average rent that people collect on a single family rent house today. You may have a higher priced house and you may be collecting 2,500. You may have one that you're collecting 1,300. But let's just say that we pick the average. And what we know statistically by every resource out there available to us is that today, because of this excessive amount of expenses, that 50% of your gross rent goes out in expenses. That is the gold standard in underwriting today. So that means that you're going to net $900 a month. That's your net income for a $250,000 investment. How's that sound? You like that number? That's about 4% interest on your investment per year. Let's go take and buy a first mortgage. For $250,000, the average payment that somebody buys, the average over all of the about last 18 months that we help students buy notes was $2,700. So what do you pay? Well, even the borrower can pay your loan servicer. What's your expenses? I don't call me when the heater breaks. I'm the bank. Do you call your bank when the heater breaks? Right? So I don't have expenses. I'm the bank. I'm not a landlord. So I'm netting $2,700 a month. And yes, you are correct. That is 3x. That is 3 times the income. And you're saying, well, Eddie, that's a crazy example. No, that is actually normal. That is actually normal. This is the society. These are the math numbers we have today. And so we're just trying to show people why people are fired up about notes, why I'm fired up about notes, right? So when you think about it, it's a lot less income, a lot more income, a lot less trouble. And by the way, when it comes to, I've got the same money invested, I've got the same capital invested, but I'm getting 3 times the return on my capital. And guess what else I don't get? Huh? I get those zero maintenance calls, right? I'm the bank, not a landlord. This is what people like about it. Let me introduce you to Monica. Monica was a lady that was sat in a lot of the seats that you're sitting in. Now, Monica was a very disciplined investor, and on the weekends, she was a real estate investor. She was an executive with Verizon. Okay, she had a rental portfolio, right? Smart lady, very kind, very family oriented. She was looking for her sunset. She was looking for a thing to do it. And Monica, ironically, was introduced to us by her attorney. So her attorney was aware that we did this, and he pointed her to Monica and said, "Look, you need to see what those guys over there at Note School can do." Because Monica had an opportunity for early retirement. Now, let me explain this to you because we hear it all the time. It's going to take me forever for my rental portfolio to get me where I need to be for retirement. I'm betting for the future. I'm betting for the future. And people are telling us it's taken, 18 and 20 years to go accomplish that. And Monica says, "No, I've got an opportunity for early retirement. I want to go do something now. I want to go do something that I have an impact with now and not just keep building for the future." Nothing wrong with a rental portfolio if you can wait for it. But if you can get the same result quicker, that's what was going to allow her to do her early retirement, right? So she wanted a stable investment that gave her cash flow and safety where she could sleep at night. And that's exactly why she went for notes. So she found note investing, right? I wouldn't say, I know Monica very well. She doesn't think she's magic, but I think in a lot of ways she did something magic for her retirement that a lot of people are thinking, man, looking back, boy, if Monica made some good choices, and I believe that to be a truth. Let's talk about this cushion factor. You remember the house I described to you? And I said, we're going to invest in that note and we're going to pay $250,000. Well, here's the catch. That property is worth $350,000. And I have the first mortgage. So God forbid, which is a low percentage shot, by the way, on the notes that we're teaching people to buy. God forbid something goes wrong in their life, that somebody dies, somebody gets divorced, something happens that one in a zillion times. Like there's a 3 to 5% chance this deal's going to go in default. But I'm in that. I bought the wrong lottery ticket, and 3 to 5% that something happened. I have a cushion factor in this deal of $100,000 because I'm the bank. And if something goes wrong, I'm looking at it thinking catastrophically, and we teach people a blueprint. We're very good at teaching people this risk blueprint. I've done this 50,000 times. We've seen it. What do they say in that commercial? We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. It's that, right? So let me tell you about my friend Doug. So Doug bought this, and what he was looking for was cash flow and not a job. He is a hospital administrator. That's his day job. He's a hospital administrator in Wyoming. And he tells me that that's quite a job, and I believe him. That's really, like if you want to hear wild stories of what happens at work, go be a hospital administrator. He was not looking for stress to be his entertainment. He's got a beautiful family, as you see, and so he's rolled up and bought these notes. And he says, "Eddie, the time I spend doing this," and by the way, let me be clear, he's a hospital administrator, so he may be a little more efficient with his time and his details than I would be, but he's got it down to what he calls 15 minutes a month, right? And and this is his thing. This was what he was looking for. He had all these friends and all these doctors and all these people that had rentals, and he listened to all the stories, and he showed up at our doorstep and he said, "Eddie, I'll go for the notes. I'll go for those notes, and I don't have 1,000 notes yet, but I'll go for the thing that's way less stress and way less aggravation." So he chose something that was easier to invest in and have an investing strategy and not have an investing business. So that was really suitable for him. By the way, guess where he owns most of these notes? Take a wild guess. Yeah, you're right. In his self-directed retirement account, right? So Warren Buffett said if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. Mm, that's pretty thought-provoking, right? And so I want to show you how to make money while you sleep because what is the old saying? Money never sleeps, right? So I want to show you the way to make money. And so let me show you kind of what is a story. This is my story. This is our family legacy story. And this is my family, right? And that pretty lady in the middle with that black dress on, that's Martha. We've been married for 43 years. Martha's dad introduced me to this business 45 years ago. And so we've been super blessed, beautiful family. I know. Thank you. I appreciate that. They look like their mama, I'm going to assure you. But Martha and I, coming from this business, we started waking up and realizing our life's why. And our life's why that we could use with this business. In fact, Martha is now copied. In fact, it's kind of a thing within note school that people call this the Martha model, right? After my wife Martha, right? And so it's really about legacy. And so let's look at what this means. So this is my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is 88. She is at home. She does have 24-hour care, and I can tell you with 1,000% integrity that my mother-in-law has been able to keep her independence because of income off of notes. That is an absolute truth. My father-in-law introduced me to this business. My father-in-law's been dead for 28 years. And we have bought new notes. When some notes pay off, we bought new notes. This lady's financial support and financial stability is because of note income. That's my mother-in-law. That's Nana. There's Martha. That's my son Wood. He is a fireman and paramedic, and he works with us on the business on the side. But I can tell you today, 100%, he's at the fire department, right? And so he is doing what I believe that God blessed him to go do. I believe that's his life's calling. And he's able to go do that. But yet he has an investing strategy with notes. Now, here's little Colt, right? Colt's his oldest son. And I'm going to tell you something. Grandma Martha has already figured out a way for little Colt to have a Coverdale educational account. And for when Wood was in junior high school, for him to have a Roth IRA account. And these strategies that I'm going to show you how to do relate to anybody in this picture, not just Martha and Eddie, not even just Nana, but now Wood, by the time he's at a certain age, will be a millionaire in a Roth IRA account, not because he invested $1 zillion, but because we used a creative strategy to solve a problem. And the same thing with Colt. So this kind of relates to our whole family, 4 decades now, or 4 generations, right? So we go buy a first mortgage. So that's the house that the mortgage is on. We're just the bank. We just have a first mortgage on that house. We don't own the house. We buy the first mortgage on the house. So we buy the first mortgage on the house, and it's a $160,000 mortgage at 9% interest payable over 20 years. That is a normal, typical looking deal. Now that house is worth $240,000. So that house is worth a lot more than the note we bought, right? But we buy this note and we don't really want to earn just 9% interest. That's okay. That's not terrible. But what if you could earn more? Would you be okay if you could earn more than 9% interest? Okay. So the way we do that is we buy that note at a discount. So the balance on the note is 160, but we don't pay 160, we pay 140. We buy that note at a slight discount. Not huge, it's a good note, but we're now entitled to collect $1,439 a month for the next 240 months. In fact, if you added that up, that is $345,000 that's paid back. You pay 140, you get back 345. And by the way, you don't have to wait till the end to get your money. You get it every month, incrementally over the life of the loan. So you start stacking up the cash. Now you know what to do with the next piece of dry cash you got. You put it out in notes. You don't have to wait till the end to get all your money back. You start getting it back, and then you stack up that money, and then you go do the next deal. That's exactly what Martha, my wife, has done. So, pretty good property, pretty safe. Odds of this deal going bad aren't very high, but we, if something happened, we've got a catastrophic plan because we are owed. We have way less invested than what the property's worth. Okay, so it's a better cushion. And we don't pay the water bill. We don't pay taxes and insurance. We own the mortgage and we don't have to do this. So that green becomes our money. Okay? Now, if you're my mother-in-law Nana, I bought a lot of notes for Nana, my mother-in-law, just like this. And she just gets a check every month. And we've got a whole bunch of notes, so she gets a whole bunch of checks. So the mailbox looks pretty good every month. And those expenses and those home sitters, I'm just going to tell you, pay $25 an hour times 24 hours a day for 30 days, and like it's not inexpensive. But I can tell you right now that that was the plan, to have the ability and the security to go do that, and that was part of this legacy. That's where we're at with Nana, right? By the way, sweetest lady I've ever known. I don't understand mother-in-law jokes because mine's the best. Like, she's literally the sweetest person I've ever met. So I'm pretty blessed there, right? A little shout out to Nana, right? So we bought this note, and we invested 140, but the house is worth 240. So Martha has a cushion in this deal, right? God forbid, it matters if something goes wrong. It's a low percent chance that something's going to go wrong, but if it does, it matters. Here's what people ask me, well, Eddie, I would do this deal all day long. I would invest 140,000 and get back, $16,000, $18,000 a year. Just boom, 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 reel it in. I keep getting it every year. But wait a minute. What if I run out of money? Or what if I'm investing for Wood, my son? How many $140,000 does he have in his Roth IRA account? Or what if I'm investing for little Colt? I can only invest $2,500 a year in his covered educational account, right? Maybe it's gone up a little bit, but it's limited. So what if I have limited money? What if I have a little account? You see, what I've found is that most people with a driver's license understand you can borrow money against a rent house. That's a leveraging technique. Most people do not understand that there's ways to recapitalize your investment on a note. So let me tell you a little secret. I bought 50,000 plus notes in my career. It's a lot of money, billions, right? Let me tell you a little secret. I didn't fund it with the money in my wallet. I used mortgage banking techniques that we have perfected over the past 45 years to fund a lot of my note business with other people's money. And if you can do it with anything, you can do it with a note. So I teach people techniques so that you can really grow this and you can be creative. So this leveraging technique is that, remember, when I buy a note, what is the end result of what I get from buying a note? I get long-term income. I get long-term income, and every month I get a check for a long time in the future, right? I'm buying long-term income and I get a check every month. And so that becomes a timeline of cash flow. Get the concept? I'm getting a cash flow of money over a long period of time. And the reality is that is a valuable asset. And I can use various techniques, one of these techniques I'm going to show you today. This is called a partial. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy that whole cash flow, and I'm going to turn around and immediately sell those first part of the payments. See, I'm building this in a retirement account. I don't need cash flow. I want to go build wealth. I want to wake up one day and take a small amount of money and turn it into a huge amount of money. In this example, that's what I want to do. So this would be a wealth technique. So I sell the first payments of this note, and then I'm going to keep these payments. But by the way, I've gotten some of my money back here, right? I've gotten invested money, and I'm selling those payments. So I'm now getting money back that I've just invested, or essentially I could flip it. This is how Martha's taken small accounts and turned it into a lot of money. So we take this good note and we buy this note. We pay $140,000, but we do this with other people's money. So of the $140,000 investment, we fund $139,000 with somebody else's money. And then Martha's actual money she keeps invested in the deal is $1,000. By the way, over time, that $1,000 is going to turn into a lot of money, right? $1,400 a month times 8 years, 96 months. That's $138,000. So that's a lot of money for a $1,000 investment. Everybody agree with that? This is what we're good at. I call this financial modeling, right? And by the way, if you leaned in today when we started and you said, I'm going to learn something about buying notes, 30 minutes into this, I just showed you a technique that Wall Street guys would love to do in their retirement account. This is what we're good at doing. We show people step by step how to accomplish this. So here's what Martha does. I call Martha the deal architect. Now, that doesn't mean that Martha spends all of her time. Martha doesn't find notes. I'm in the business. I'm fairly well known in the business. I find notes that Martha buys. I can't make a commission on it. I can't make a profit on it. We try to stay way inside the lanes of what, but I'm in the business. I'm fairly well known. I find a good note and I say, y'all go see Martha. I can tell you right now that Martha has 8 notes that she has under contract in our retirement account today that she's going to buy and do this very technique with. Well, you say, Eddie, you're in your mid 60s. Why aren't you getting cash flow? Well, Martha's just building. We do have cash flow, but we don't need all of it. And she just keeps building. By the way, let me ask you a technical question. Can my kids inherit Martha and I's retirement account? Yeah. So if we've got more in our retirement account than we need to spend, then our next generation can do it, right? You don't have to do it that way, but Martha finds a note. We help her find a note, right? And then she buys that note and funds $140,000. What does that get Martha? A long-term cash flow. It gets her a long-term cash flow. Then Martha finds a passive investor. Now, once again, this could be a bank. It could be an insurance company, both of which we work with. Or Martha just finds somebody, quite honestly, that used to have rentals and they don't want any headaches anymore. And she just finds them and she sells them the front end of this note. So she goes and strips off part of the payments, but they write her a big check. They write her a check for $139,000. And then Martha, for $1,000 invested, owns the back part of that note. And by the way, I'm pretty good at running a financial calculator, right? I'm pretty good at doing all that math and telling you what the yield is. And people say, what's the yield on that $1,000, Eddie? I'm going to say to you, it's enough. When you're really doing good, You don't need a calculator. The best investment, as far as yield is concerned, the best investment is where I don't need a calculator. Of yes, I mathematically could calculate it and it's a crazy number, but the answer is that is what you're looking for. It's not a razor thin margin. It's a good deal, and that is what we like for people to do. So, Emily and Adam, young couple, they had a whole bunch of rental properties that they had bought, a bunch. And they had syndications and apartments, and they're good operators. They're both engineers. They're very trustworthy. They're great people. Emily shows up at an event, and there's a problem. Inflation had sucked their net income out of their life. And this was their day job. Like this was their thing. This is what they were doing for a living. And they owned a whole bunch of rental properties and did stuff. And she sought a better cash flow solution because the one they had wasn't working. That's so people show up at our doorstep that are Emily and Adam. They're not at retirement age. They just they needed income to live on, right? And by the way, great story. That happened a couple of years ago, and they really got wired up and plugged in and changed their cash flow and got themselves back where they needed to be. And we just had a new baby. So it let them progress with the things in the life that matter. You don't have to be old to do it. You don't have to be young to do it. You don't have to be a full-time landlord to do it. They just did exactly what Monica did, but for a different reason. Monica was looking to retire. They were looking to live, right? So they were frustrated landlords. Pretty common. We see it a lot. So let's look at some other methods. Let's go back and look at Monica. By the way, I saw that Monica on Facebook last week posted, and she was in Alaska. Good for her. Obviously, she's in Arizona there, I think. But she's been able to move near her family because she doesn't have a rental portfolio to worry about. She's got the cash flow she needs. And I will tell you something, Monica is such a go-giver. That lady is like now she's helping other people with the same life situation she has. And she kind of is involved in us and helping kind of take students and helping them with certain things of the business. So just a great story about Monica. And I would say to you that she gets kind of teary-eyed when she talks about the fact that if she just would have had that rental portfolio and stayed stuck there, it would have stopped her from doing the early retirement. She's busy. She's not laying up there watching Days of Our Lives every day. This lady's making it happen in her life, but she's got freedom, and that matters to her, right? So she was looking for retirement income. So let's look at Monica buying this note. This house is in Dallas, Texas. Once again, we're not buying the house. We're doing what? We're buying the first mortgage on the house. We're buying a first mortgage. But this deal has some pretty good characteristics about it. First of all, the property's worth $185,000, yet the note only cost $125,000. So guess what? Remember that cushion factor we kept talking about? That cushion variable? Yeah, that cushion variable is a real thing, right? So the house is worth 185 and she invested 125 for the note. And she is at 68%. We call this investment, what you pay for the note compared to what the property's worth. It's a number that we run to make sure we're in the safe zone. And people say, well, Eddie, what kind of a yield can I get on my investment? Well, this deal was pretty good. It was almost 12%. It was 11.5. That's way higher than 4% on the rental. Let me just say it that way. Was this deal safe? The buyer, it was a working class neighborhood. No, I'll admit to you, Martha's probably not going to go move in that house. But those people that live in that house, that's their home, and they have home ownership, and they're fulfilling a dream. And I'm glad to help people be a part of that. Right? Seller financing provided them home ownership. House is well kept. The loan balance is now down because they originally was 152 and now they owe 130. So they've paid their payments early on this deal. It was originally a 20-year note, and now it's only 13 years left. So good for them, right? Winner, winner, chicken dinner kind of thing. So let's figure out how Monica buys this deal and just gets her money back. So Monica buys this deal, and pays $125,000. And in 81 months, she has fully gotten all of her money back. And let me emphasize that Monica got this money every month. So she's stacking up the money. She's not waiting till the end to get her money back. She's stacking it up, which a third of the way through it, she'll have more, what a few months into it, she's got more money to go buy the next deal. So she can keep building it and keep building it up. She's not waiting till the end, waiting on that promise. And that's kind of how she felt like she was with a rental portfolio. But how much profit is Monica going to make after she gets all of her money back? Assuming she didn't reinvest any of it, which she would, of course, she's going to make 75 payments. And if you look at the money on that, she makes $116,000 profit on that deal. So that's pretty good. I'm pretty good at math, pretty good at this math. And I can tell you right now, most people, truth be told, in real estate investing are not making that happen. I'm not saying rentals have always been bad. I'm saying that you can't look at yesterday's statistics and paint that into a future picture if that's not what the market is. It doesn't matter what things used to be. Like I used to have a BlackBerry. Okay. It doesn't matter what used to be. Like today is today. And right now, I believe in all my heart, I believe that notes are more profitable than rentals. I can take this to a really deep level. We're not going to today, but I can take this to a really deep level and prove out my concept of why I believe that's true. Monica has gotten to be a part of helping this family own that greenhouse. She owns their mortgage. They're gonna send her a thank you letter and say thank you for being the bank so we could own the house. She bought the note from somebody else. She didn't create the note. We found the note for her. She's a student. She's in our tribe. We found the note for her. We helped her underwrite it. We helped her process it. It was a passive level of activity. She needed to go make it happen. And at the end, she got to recoup her money. And that's why you see her on that trip in Arizona, because she doesn't have her tool bag in her back seat of her car. How about that? So think about this. What if we could only help you do one deal? Just one deal, which is completely unrealistic and not why I want you to come to Note School. Not at all. But if we just help Monica do one deal, that one deal of earning $15.57 a month for 156 months turns into $242,000 worth of money. Now, what I want you to do is do this times 10. That's what I want you to do. Or 20. I'm good with 20. So what we've done is we have built a school that shows people what they need to know to safely invest in notes. And we will teach them these techniques where you can use leverage. In this case, there wasn't any leverage. Monica just invested her money and she got her money back. But we teach people various techniques so that they can take a smaller amount of money and turn it into a lot of money. And I believe in all my heart the market timing is the best I maybe have ever seen in my career. I'm showing thousands of landlords how to convert their rentals to notes. Thousands of landlords. I'm on big stages all the time. All the big masterminds, Collective Genius, Boardroom, Investor Fuel. Like in the next month and a half, I'm literally on every one of those stages. And some of those investors that are converting their rental properties to notes, they need to sell some of those notes to have some liquidity. And so we're constantly creating a traffic pattern of helping people with creating notes so that there's now notes for us to have that our student base wants to buy. We've created a marketplace, so to speak. That's kind of what we've done. So if you look at the current market conditions, they are as prime as I've ever seen because people that have 20 million rental houses, repeat that, Eddie, 20 million rental houses are not making the money they used to make. And they're not less stressful because they're not making money. They've got more stress. So the market timing's pretty good to go chase notes. So there's a window of opportunity in this business that I believe is monumental. And I'm going to say that how many times in life do we see an opportunity and we say, yeah, we'll just take advantage of it later. There's no urgency. I'll just go do it later. Let me tell you something. Martha and Eddie do not have that mentality. It is on like Donkey Kong, as the guy used to say on TV, right? It is now. And we are taking advantage of it because it matters. You want to know when there's a good deal? In my heart, and what Martha and Eddie Speed are doing is taking advantage of it. And the people that we're helping in this business, they get that and they see that. So next steps. What does it look like for you? How does that work? One thing about note school and what we train people how to do is I don't train massive amounts of people. So I believe I'm training a smaller group that becomes an elite force. My mission is to have our students that have an inordinately high success rate, right? I don't want 1,000 people in a room to only go find 10 people or 20 people that are going to go do something. I want a smaller room with a way bigger impact. And for that, I'm saying I think I'm equipped to help people with that position. I think I've been on a journey for a long time. I've been training for this party and it's shown up and I'm pretty fired up to go, let's roll with it. I we're not for everybody because I want to be able to help people that we can help. If you have rentals, if you don't want to have rentals, if you want cash flow, if you want to learn a market condition and how to go take advantage of a market condition and buying first mortgages, I think today is a good day to do that. And we're going to have a class. We're going to help you with that process. You can keep your wallet in your pocket. I'm not trying to sell you something today. I want to go take you down the road and have a little more time and a little more thought process. And if you like then coming to a class and progressing, we can have that conversation. I'm going to give you a class. It's free. And I don't do that for everybody, but I like this audience. I know how I think there's a lot of people in this audience we can solve a big problem for. So when is it? It's going to be August 20th. It's going to be me. And it probably really won't last 2 hours. So show up, and this is Central Time. This is Central Time. Show up at 11 o'clock. I probably won't be there at 1, so I'm not going to keep you that long. Probably less than that. Probably closer to hour and 10, hour and 20 minutes. I may hang around and answer questions if somebody has some, but I'm going to make it. One thing that I want to do is I want to be able to help people with the ESPN version. What if you don't want to watch 4 football games on Sunday? Right? What if you just want to watch the highlights? So I want to be able to serve those audiences as well as people that want to spend countless time with us. That's cool if you can and you want to do that. But if you can't spend countless time with us, I want to make the time count. So what path could benefit you the most? What is it? Creating notes on your own rentals or investing in notes? Right? Monica owner financed some of her own rentals, changed her cash flow drastically, and now she's just taking some of the money she's got and investing in notes. So some people want to invest and some people want to take their existing rentals and go do that too. We're really, really, really good at serving those audiences. I think it's the most important steps to grow your net worth in 2025. Right? There's some good things that's happened because of the market. But how many times in the market when there's things that aren't going right and you look at people making a path, some people know how to take advantage of the opportunity and some people get taken advantage of. I want you to be number one. I want you to know how to take advantage of it. So when you come to this class, it's not just going to be Eddie talking head. Okay. So I want to give you some real hands-on tools you can touch when you leave this class. So I'm going to give you some mind maps. These are mind maps that we have developed. This is Martha's mind maps for partials. We're going to show you how to buy whole notes and we're going to sell all partials. And we're going to show you some step-by-steps of what that is. It just sort of removes the fog of how it works. Anybody got any questions about investing in notes? Huh?
We've got a few, Eddie, great stuff, especially the stuff about leveraging and partials. Those are real eye openers. I kind of understood them conceptually, but I'm way down the road now to understanding them much, much better. So
All right,
thank you.
let me do this.
Yep.
Before I get to the questions, I'm at least going to show them how to sign up for this little mini class.
Yeah, let's do it.
This book has 150 questions, the most common questions we've been asked about notes in my career. By the way, the answer to those questions are in this book, right? How about the little thing of figuring out how about a partial calculator, an Excel calculator that will actually let you play with it and calculate partials? So here's how it works. You're going to sign up. You see that little scan code right there? You can also type in at the bottom this address, and that's going to be the page where you're going to sign up. All right, now let's answer some questions.
Okay. We've got Odelia has a specific question to her situation on an individual note, and it's complicated, and so she wants to contact you.
Okay.
Is that possible? You're going to leave some contact information here at the end?
You can reach out to us at info@noteschool.com. Now, that's not how you're going to sign up for this class, but if you
Right.
have a specific question, you can go to info@noteschool.com and I will get her routed to somebody on my team.
Yeah, yeah. She's in the middle of a purchase and it's very specific to her situation. So,
Okay, sure.
Odia, I hope that's okay. Stephen says in the buy full, sell partial example, does Martha only need to invest $1,000 or will she need the full 140 to purchase the note? That's the first of his three-part question. The second part is, how long does Martha own the note before selling the partial? And third part, are there any reasons she would need to keep the note?
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to say this is why we take you down a path of note school, because there are some it depends answers. Okay. And you can relate to why I'm saying that, right? You can flip it. It's more work, takes more timing to make a flip, but you can do it. She's been able to do this for our kids and our grandkids, investing where they didn't have a huge amount of money in the account. There is some IRA specific issues that we have addressed very clearly working with IRA specialist attorneys and tax attorneys about answering some of these questions. So I don't want to get way hung down the trail today of doing it, but the answer is yes, you can flip it. There are some restrictions about some things you need to know. And by the time you get to a class, we're going to actually bring Martha into the class and we're going to address that. So we're going to have an opportunity for somebody to come hang out with us for 2 days. And in that class, I have Martha come in and ask some very, very deep, specific questions about things that she has gotten legal advice on. We're not rendering legal advice, but Lord knows we paid for some, right? And we're going to talk about what they've told us about this.
Okay, good. Stephen, I hope that answered your question. I see you've got two others, but I'm going to get one from Gary. He said, if I sell the first half of the cash flows in a note and I buy and the homeowner pays off the note, what cash flow do I get at the loan payoff?
You see this little diagram right here?
Okay.
By the time you get to a class, we're going to show you what happens if a loan pays off early. So if that loan paid off in 5 years, the investor that still has a partial is still gets that amount of money,
Hmm.
and we get this amount of money. And we're going to teach that concept that you make money on an early payoff as well. So that's a graph of an Excel set of numbers that do it. That's I'm not getting at that level today, but believe me, I know how it works.
Yeah. This is the deal. If it looks complicated, but Eddie simplifies it for you, and he simplified a few things today that I had not grasped completely before. So that's why you probably should take the free course or the
Yeah.
free session. And then Stephen wants to know what your preferred method of sourcing notes today.
I'm involved in the top real estate masterminds in the country. So these are the tools that are going to go along with this class that I'm going to give you is coming and attending. So this is a gift. This is quite a, this is a pretty good gift, right? By the way, it's a lot of money worth of assets. So,
That's great.
um, so
This will be fun.
the answer is, there are platforms and there are Facebook groups and stuff like that. The quality of notes that I see on those are not of the quality that I'm able to find. And so I go through a laundry list in showing people various ways to find notes. And I'm very strict in saying, let me help you with a blueprint of what are acceptable notes. If I've bought 50,000 notes, Lord knows I've looked at 300,000. So I can tell you what's, and we have broken that down pretty simply to where people can learn it and you develop a blueprint of risk, understanding risk and likelihood scenarios. What's the likelihood this is going to be a problem? And we've gotten really good at that. That's not what we're doing today. I want to be clear
Right.
about that. But you can't have bought 50,000 notes and not have a risk blueprint.
Yeah, there are some moving parts here, and it's difficult to get into it in a 1 hour session, which is why you want to check in on the 20th and dive a little bit deeper into this. Um, Eddie, could you send the scan to us over here at Camel Plan? We've got some people who it's not working for them on their phones, but
If
we
you'll
can
just
address that.
type in that, all you need
There
to
you
do
go.
is just type in that URL right there.
There you go.
Just type that in, it's going to take you to the same spot. So if the
Perfect.
scan's not perfect, then I'll be perfectly honest with you. I hold my phone up sometimes and I'm on something and I'm trying to scan it and
Yeah, me
whatever.
too. Me
I
too.
tell my marketing team, like, put the scan in there, but leave it for old people. You can just type it in.
Well, also, I didn't bring my phone in here because I don't want it ringing in the middle of this
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
this is good for me too. Um, I think that exhausts the questions that we have. Um, Eddie, thank you so much for your time. This is a real treat, and it's been fun having you here. And hopefully, we'll get you back here sometime soon. And I'll see you at some upcoming events. Okay.
I look forward to it.
All
Thank
right.
you guys.
Thank you so much.
You
Have a
bet.
good day. Bye bye.